Hey, so before we get into the actual discussion of the video, a couple things. I usually like to stay positive, but as a Warlock main, I'd like to point out the things that I experience as I play the game. And of course, this is my opinion, and I'm honestly primarily making this video so I can hear what you guys think. So to start with something that I think most people can agree on, the Threadling grenade is bad, especially so for Hunters and Titan. You guys don't even have exotics that can make it a little worthwhile, so you're just going to stick to grapple, which is way more fun, and shackle, which is just really good. But it's still bad for warlocks because the grapple is literally a better version of it. Grapple does the grapple melee damage, also spawns 3 Threadlings, and is on a whole minute less cooldown. I've seen some builds using verities to try to make up for this, but when you're using verities, the only thing that you get the damage increase on is when you actually throw the Threadling grenade. And even then, the damage increase is like 100%. You're dealing 2 times damage, but that's still not more than using verities with a fusion grenade or using verities with a vortex grenade, stuff like that. There are way better options than trying to force a Threadling build. And while using verities, you're essentially wasting one of the only 2 aspects warlocks have. If you consume your Threadling grenade, which this aspect wants you to do, those Threadlings that come off of you, the Threadlings that come off of your rift, don't do increased damage. And if you're using verities, since the only thing that gets the damage increase is your thrown Threadling grenade, you can't even make use of the only Strand warlock exotic that make the rest of your Threadlings a little bit more worthwhile, with having them unravel enemies on hit. For the main point of the video, Threadling builds, especially warlock Threadling builds, just suck. In today's mod system, if you can't spawn orbs, you don't have a build. And the only way Threadlings spawn orbs in this game is by throwing your Threadling grenade, just like with verities. And because they don't do great damage, you're really not going to be making that many orbs, and it's on an incredibly long cooldown. And just like verities, it's skipping one of your whole aspects, because should you use that Threadling grenade for its Mind Spun Invocation bonus of having 5 perched Threadlings on you, those aren't going to spawn orbs. With no orbs spawning from your abilities, you're relying just on your weapons, which in my opinion gets boring, as well as being a bad build for things like day 1 raids and GMs. Of course, we don't have every aspect, every fragment that's going to be out for Strand, but right now, they're not great. I mentioned earlier, the Swarmer's exotic is pretty much the only thing that makes Threadlings better, and that's with giving them unravel on hit. With the fragments we have access to now, as well as the aspects, there is nothing about ability generation on unravel damage or unravel kills. The only fragments that generate ability energy are Thread of Generation, dealing damage gives you a little bit of grenade, and Thread of Mind, where defeating suspended targets grants class ability energy. Now that would be really good if Threadlings did anything with suspending enemies. And if you wanted to build into that, you would be using your Shackle Grenade, which means you can only get Threadlings off of, if you're wearing the Swarmer's exotic, destroying tangles and casting your rift, but they still don't suspend enemies. It would only be throwing your grenade, and it's not conducive. It doesn't flow well, and it leads to a lot of abrasion when you're trying to use your Threadlings to do cool shit. So right now, Threadlings don't do enough damage, of course, even with the fragment that makes them do more damage, to be worth it as your build in high level content. They don't do anything to get you your abilities back, so that even with their low damage, they would be worth using. And even if you are playing in low-end content and your Threadlings are actually getting kills, they're not spawning orbs. And that's the real issue. Threadlings wouldn't even have to do anything inside of our fragments or our aspects to be good if they just spawned orbs and allowed us to actually create a build around them. But right now, that just isn't the case. All these builds that you're seeing on YouTube are not Threadling builds. They don't build into your aspects. They're only going to be building into your thrown Threadling grenade, which is inefficient. There's something missing if you are only focusing on a single part of your whole subclass and you aren't making use of all of it. The build you're seeing on screen is actually an example of that. It's not a terrible build, but as you've seen, it's just the Threadling grenade. I'm not taking use of any of the aspects, and since I made this build and I've been using it, I can tell you it's not as satisfying as a good build should be. Now, of course, I'm not telling you to stop using Threadlings, because I'm still using Threadlings. I think Threadlings are an incredible idea. I just think Bungie missed the execution by a little bit, or more likely, they're just hiding the true craziness from us by having more aspects and more fragments come out next season alongside more Strand exotics. So, for any Broodweaver Warlocks that are feeling a little dejected as I am from having a really cool ability in the form of Threadlings, but not super impressed in how they perform, I recommend just put on a grapple grenade, put on heavy-handed, because you'll find your grapple gets more kills than the actual Threadlings will, and build off of those orbs. Right now, Threadlings should pretty much solely just be used as a secondary effect to your build. While it is unfortunate, it's how you're going to get the most out of it. So, again, sorry for having negativity. As I said at the beginning of the video, I really like to be positive, but in my eyes and what I've done, Threadlings just aren't something we can build around. It's disappointing me, and I'd like to hear what you guys think about it, because maybe there's just something I haven't seen. Maybe I'm blind and there's a fragment that actually works with Threadlings, or there is a way for Threadlings to spawn orbs. Again, not off of the Threadling grenade. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Am I wrong? Am I right? And before I go, thank you guys so much for your support. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. And continuing off of my last video and copying my Island Games, if you'd like to support the channel, this video, and you can't think of a comment down below, just Threadlings. So that's it. Thank you so much again. Hope to see you around.